I'd like to welcome our audience back to the Wide Open podcast. My name is Bruce Huberman, and my co host is Paul Asciante. This is season one, episode 18. We are so fortunate this evening to have a friend of mine, John Morano, on the podcast. Not only has he penned 5 books, he's a distinguished professor at Monmouth University. He started the journalism program there, and his insights and knowledge of the, I guess, forum for journalism is just second to none. So we welcome you to the podcast, John, and we'll take it away. So, John, why don't you give us a little background and how you evolved and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. I guess I started life in East Rockaway, New York. Um,
Rockaway Hunt Club.
and went to public school there and thought I'd like to get to college and wound up at Clark University with my good buddy Bruce. Went there as a basketball player. That's how I got in. And while I was there, quickly realized I was probably one of the least prepared students in my class. My professors were speaking English, and it sounded like a second language to me. So I decided to dedicate myself to understanding what they were talking about. And then from there, I wound up at CBS in Manhattan for a quick stay. And from there, I went to Modern Screen magazine in New York. From there, I went to Rock Beat magazine in Los Angeles, then Penn State for grad school, then Inside Books magazine, and eventually wound up at Monmouth University and kind of rebranded myself from an entertainment journalist to an environmental novelist. And now I'm starting my 38th year at Monmouth University.
That's
That's
incredible.
awesome.
Did you have any other options before you chose Monmouth, or was that how did that come about?
At the time, I was trying to figure out whether I was going to continue on in the journalism field. Um, I had been at Rockbeat. I was the youngest editor of a national magazine in the country, so things had gone well. And I didn't know if I was going to stay on that road or go towards academia. But while I was at Penn State, my professors, it looked like they had such a great life. And they had this thing called tenure, and it all looked really interesting. And they spent their days writing and talking about the media and working with young people who were trying to get somewhere. It all made a lot of sense to me. Um, and I was looking in the back of a magazine called Editor and Publisher Magazine, and they had want ads in the back, and it said this place, Monmouth College at the time, was looking to start a journalism program, and I had everything they were asking for, so I sent my stuff in. The next thing I knew, I was standing in this place called Shadow Lawn Hall where they shot the film Annie, um, and then they hired me, and it was such a good fit. I stayed.
Well, it's phenomenal. We're sort of kindred spirits in that, I've been in academia for 52 years. My wife is a
Wow.
professor at Trinity, a philosopher,
Ah.
and yeah, and which means she has to dumb it down for me at the dinner table. And I've written 2 books, and I'm about to drop another. But
Great.
the white elephant in the room to kick it right off with is, with all of this that's happening in front of us, and you know movies are becoming much more difficult, and books are not being read. And so
Mhm.
how have you been able to stay relevant in an ever dwindling space?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's when my last book came out, one of the deans came up to me and, was congratulating me. And he said facetiously, "It's amazing, John, that um, in 30 years, you've become an overnight success.
Yeah, yeah, I hear
um,
that. Yeah.
and so, back in the day, when I wrote my first book, I was just coming to Monmouth. And for me, it was just a test. I wanted to see if I could do it. I had written so many articles, 5 page, 6 page. Can I do 300? I wanted to see if I could write a book. And, you have to have an idea. And I didn't know what to write about. And I was watching the news one night and I saw a correspondent, and she was standing in front of a cage. And she said, inside this cage, something to the effect, there's a Russian woolly variegated three-toed hamster. And this is a male, and he's the last one of his kind. And when he disappears, the planet will never see this animal again. And I thought, wow, what a story. Like, you want drama? Imagine being the last one of your kind. And it's not even fiction. Like, this is happening every day. So I'm going to write that story. That's my book, the last one of its kind. And then I thought for a second, well, this is a hamster. It's going to take me 300 pages to move it across the room. I need a better animal. So I went to the library and I pulled out all these books on endangered and threatened species. And I thought, okay, I want to write about a bird because birds migrate, and I can make the story global. It can transcend borders. It can be planetary. So I looked and I looked and I came across this bird called the Guadeloupe Island petrel. And they were extinct in 1911. And they were extinct by accident, which I thought was wonderful in a very sad way, but I thought it was wonderful because it underscores how fragile life is, that we can wipe something out and not even know we're doing it. So I resurrected one, I named him Lupe, and I told his story. And it took me a couple years to write it. And my thought was this coming into it. You know how, like, you get a photo of your, great 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 grandfather, and everybody looks at it and they're like, "Oh my God, you have the same ears as him! How wonderful!" And everybody gets excited. It's so nice. And I thought, what if instead of like a photo of me, because my God, who would want that? But instead of a photo of me, what if I left my great 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 grandchildren a story that I had written? And then they read it. And rather than look at me, they would have heard me. I would have spoken to them. And they could have seen what I thought was funny and what I thought was important and what I thought was right and wrong. And they would have actually met me for a minute. And so that was the reason why I wrote the book. And it went beyond that, but I wasn't really thinking beyond that when I wrote the first one.
So do you have like
You
a ritual when you sit down to write? Is there a certain time of day? I mean, I think people it's the discipline needed to, to pump out. I mean, you've done 5 books so far. Just to pump out a novel, even like 20 pages is a lot. How do you put that into your schedule every day and get stuff accomplished?
So here's again, like, I never took a course in how to write a novel, right? But I think a good education is when you don't need the professor anymore, when they've given you such a good education, which I feel we got at Clark, that I can essentially teach myself anything that I will need to know for the rest of my life. And so now I want to write a book. And I'll tell you, I got the idea at Penn State as a grad student. That's when I had the idea. And I was dating my wife at the time. And so I get back from spring break, which is where I got the idea. And I get back from spring break and I see my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. And she looks at me and she says, "You look different." And I said, "Yeah, I was in Florida. We were surfing and stuff. And I got a little tan. And she goes, "No, no, 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 you're different." And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You don't look different. You are different." And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And she says, "What happened?" And I'm like, I'm going to write a book." And she said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to write a book." She goes, "Well, what are you going to write about?" And I said, "I'm going to write about the last living Guadalupe petrel." she looked at me like,
Yeah.
I got to get a new boyfriend. This guy's a
Yeah.
loser. Oh my God, we're going nowhere fast here. Um, and I said, all right, okay, but I'm going to write this book. And a week later, she shows up and she hands me this like notebook. And I'm like, what is this? And it's an Audubon notebook. And in the notebook, there are Audubon sketches of birds with blank
Hmm.
pages. And she said, I thought maybe it would inspire you, that you could look at these birds and it would give you ideas. And so I knew two things right at that moment.
Yeah, she's special.
Right. I knew I was looking at Mrs. Morano right then and
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
whether she knew it or not. I knew
Yeah.
it. And then the other thing I did was I made a promise to myself. And I told myself, I will carry this notebook with me everywhere. And whenever I have an idea, no matter what's happening, I'm going to write it into this book. Whether it's good, bad, I won't even worry about it. I'm just brainstorming, constantly writing ideas in this book. And I would even wake up in the middle of the night, write something, fall back asleep, look in the morning, be like, oh my God, you should have kept sleeping. But I just kept doing it. And I knew when I filled the book, it was time to start writing the story. And that was the first one. It took me 4 years to write the book. Um, Now I know a little better how to do it, but you can't fake it. You got to just do it.
You speak with such passion. And so I have to assume through this writing, for the most noble of ways, so that people that follow you down the road know who you were. That's pretty freaking awesome. But so I assume you have found your purpose.
I think so. I think I'm all along. I think I was doing what I was supposed to be doing at that time,
Hmm.
um, and it all feels right. Um, I honestly, I don't envy other things. I don't think the grass is greener on the other side. I'm happy with what I have. It's way more than I ever thought I'd have. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I feel real good about what's happened.
So the students today at Monmouth,
Uh,
Mhm.
if you compare 'em back to the time when we were in college,
yeah.
you wrote that article I read, and you feel like it's mostly very similar. Yet, I guess
Yes.
the environment is different. Could you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Sure. So, Editor and Publisher magazine asked me to do a commentary on journalism students today, and it's like lots of times I'll meet somebody and they'll say, what do you do for a living? And I'll say, well, I'm a journalism professor at a university, and they'll say right away, oh, students today, they're not like when we were students. And usually the last time this person has actually spoken to a student was when they were in college 100 years ago. Um, and so I actually see them every day. And it would be nice if rather than them tell me what they were like, they actually asked me what they were like, but that doesn't happen often. But journalism students today, from what I can see, are not all that different from students that you and I went to school with and students that were here when I started here. Um, there are some small differences, but by and large, they're the same. There are people who are energetic. There are people who are lazy. There are people who are curious. There are people who are distracted. It's just like always. But today, the difference is this that I see. Um, Generally speaking, students right now at this moment in time are more concerned than I've seen previously with what is good information versus bad information. What is credibility? What is balance? Um, how do we do journalism fairly? Um, what's the effect of money on journalism? What is the role of the First Amendment? What does it mean? These questions we talk about them always, but now they have a little added meaning to them for whatever reason.
I guess it's
Yeah.
all. Oh, sorry about that. It's all about journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge, huge issue. In society today, I mean, not that we don't get political on this show,
Right. Right.
but there are two sides, and if you listen to the one side, it's X, and you listen to the other side, it's Y.
Right.
And I prefer something in the middle that you know is
Yeah.
just straight journalism, but it's very hard to find that today.
So, and I'm with you. And I think if we want to talk about journalistic integrity and not slip into this um, kind of biased partisan chasm, if we want to just talk about integrity, for me, let's start with truth. That integrity is truth. And then so what is truth? Well, truth is complete. Truth is the whole truth. Truth isn't cherry picking pieces of the truth that happen to fit whatever your partisan agenda might be and claim that a piece of the truth is actually the truth. And then we talk about, can something be true for someone but actually not true for someone else? Can something be more true for someone and less true for someone else? And I think the quick answer is yes, these are complicated questions that don't have simple answers.
Where I struggle here is, first of all, I coach a team that is very international, 11 different countries in our program.
Wow.
And then I have three little girls at home. And it's how can we trust or believe
Yes.
what we're hearing or seeing? And you just become numb
Yeah.
to it. And I'm an optimist. I mean, a coach has to be an optimist, but I don't know where it changed, but I mean, for instance, as a coach, I need to be on Instagram because I got to make sure my players are not posting anything ridiculous, which they do all the time. And there'll be a headline, whatever. And I'll look at the headline and be like, that can't be true. And then I have to turn on the news. Oh, it's not in here anywhere.
Right.
Okay, I guess that was just AI or whatever.
Yeah.
And so for these people, I mean, you have to be a scientist to try to figure out what
Yeah.
you're reading and seeing is actually the truth.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It is. I mean, honestly, like the three of us, like the information media landscape when we were in college
Hmm.
was very different than what these kids are faced with now.
Hmm.
Um, we talk a lot, especially in the journalism area, um, just the effect of the phone on information. That
Hmm.
it's a mouthpiece to the world, like your phone. You can speak to the world with that thing, um, and you can show them corruption and problems and abuses very quickly. You can also show them things that are wrong very quickly. Um,
Hmm.
it's a very tricky thing, and I think a secondary effect from it that I try to talk to students about is the public. I find it interesting how many people have so many opinions so quickly.
Yeah.
That the smartest people I know say this phrase all the time. I don't know. The smartest people I know have no fear of saying, I don't know, and that I don't have enough good information right now to form an opinion.
Yeah, that's the best answer possible.
Right.
No, it's funny. We had a guest on very early on, and he was like my hero, Dr. Michael Gervais, and he came up with an acronym called FOPO,
Hmm.
which is fear of people's opinions,
Mm.
and that's a crippling thing happening out there. People are afraid to take a step forward, and we live in a world where you have to move quickly and you have to take smart chances.
Yeah.
And FOPO has got people frozen.
Yeah. It's and then now when you put an opinion out there, there's no taking it back. It is out there.
And people can say anything they
Yes.
want. You know, it, I say this to people all the time. If I get to retire with my reputation intact, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
Bec it's anyone can say anything, and nobody will ever hear the truth on the other side. Actually, we don't want to hear that. We
Yeah.
just we revel in the mud of the moment.
Yeah. And I've had students take this whole opinion thing and say this to me. I'm sure you guys have heard, like, well, I can't be wrong. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so because it's an opinion, that's a get out of jail free card.
Based
And
on what is that opinion
right,
coming from?
all opinions are created equal. Do
Mm,
you really ask the person trimming your hedges whether you should get that operation or not? Do
mm.
you really, ask the person making your sandwich whether this is a good strategy in court? Like, don't people have expertise? Don't they have that? None of this matters anymore. Oh, it's
So how has AI affected journalism in your opinion? And do you think,
yeah,
I mean, the negatives and the positives of AI?
sure. So honestly, it's the Wild West right now. Like
Mm.
I don't even think we know. We're in the midst of it. It's flying, and my position at the moment um, is that I don't want it involved with what my students are writing.
Mm-mm.
Um, if someone is using it as a means to find statistics and information, I don't have a problem with that, but they better check it. They better check that it's right. Um, but it better not be writing for them. And what I say to students is, okay, look, we're all on the cycling team and we're going home for the summer. And I want everybody to do just, to stay in, toned up and ready 40 miles a week. Just give me 40 miles a week so that we come back in the fall. Nobody's pulling muscles and we can just get on our bikes and start riding and then we'll really hit it hard. But you better give me 40 miles a week. Everybody signs on. And then we get back and I say, hey, did everybody do their 40 miles? And, everybody's like, yeah, I did my 40. And a couple of folks are like, I did 50, okay, a couple try hards, and that's great. And then there's two people in the back who say, yeah, I did my 40, but they did it on an electric bike. They did an e-bike. So are they
Uh,
going to pull muscles? Are they ready to compete? I don't think so. And that's cheating. And so what if something's writing for you? Are you actually a writer? I don't think you are. And one of the great measures of writing is what is your voice? What is your voice? Who are you on a page? We can have the greatest guitar players in history all standing in front of us playing the same song. Now, clearly, the best one would be Jerry Garcia, but after that, you know, it's Hendrix, it's Clapton, it's Trey Anastasio, it's Carlos Santana. They're all playing the same song, but don't they all sound differently?
Hmm.
Because they all have a voice. They know who they are with a guitar in their hands. Well, writers need to know who they are. And if you rely on AI, you're going to be a machine and you're going to sound like a machine and you're not going to sound like you. You won't even know who you are. And that's not writing.
Well, I'd love to take your course. You're very inspiring. One of the things we're facing in academia today, at least higher education, and I'll be interesting to see if I want, it'll be interesting to hear what you have to say, because it might differ in the demographic background of what institutions are seeing.
Yeah.
Maybe a kid at Stanford is more, or Harvard
Yeah.
or Monmouth, but
Yeah.
we are living in a world of special accommodation.
Yeah.
And it's I've been told a number that, and I don't know where, fake news, but a significant number of students are in a special accommodated status.
Mhm.
And but I mean, to the place where a person could be requesting a special accommodation to not have to attend the classes.
Yeah.
And that would get approved. And are you seeing this at Monmouth?
So, in honesty, I am seeing no shortage of accommodation requests.
Hmm.
I've never seen one for someone to not attend classes.
Hmm.
Um, that I would have an absolute issue with.
Hmm.
Um,
Totally.
but based on, someone's need to record what's happening, someone's need to sit somewhere, someone's need to, for a longer class, be able to leave the room for a couple minutes, those
Yeah.
types
Well,
of things, I kind of feel like, education isn't one size fits all. We do learn differently. We're, different individuals. And my job is for people to succeed.
hmm.
My success is your success, and to some degree, my failure is your failure. I don't feel good when you don't learn,
Hmm.
and it means I couldn't get you there. So it's not unlike coaching. I feel very much like a coach. I want people to perform to the best of their ability, whatever that is. Um, and so
But
sometimes,
sorry to cut you off. In
oh,
that world, are we preparing them for the world?
I
Because the
don't know.
world isn't going to give you special
No,
accommodation,
totally right,
you know?
right. I think I don't know that it's my responsibility to have them totally prepared for the world.
Okay.
I think my responsibility is to have them prepared for a newsroom. Um, and I mean, you're probably not going to get a lot of accommodations in a newsroom.
No, no,
I think you're
no.
right. I think
Yeah.
you're right. But I think that's on them.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll find some way around it. I mean, when I got to Clark, I'm I know now. I didn't know it then because who knew? Back then we didn't know these things. But I have some dyslexia. I move letters around. I move words around. Um, and I struggled with that and just figured out coping mechanisms, ways to do things, do it slower, do it repeatedly. Um, but, you know, my hope is that these folks will also figure out ways that they can fit into whatever situation they'd like to see themselves in.
Mm.
Very interesting. And you had mentioned your segue about Jerry Garcia. So why don't you tell us a little bit that history of yourself and the Grateful Dead, and then how you've sort of intertwined that into some of your writing?
Yeah. So, I mean, right, all cards on the table. I'm a deadhead and have been. I don't know if you can go to Clark and not be a deadhead. I think it's requirement. Um, and started going to shows back then and still going to them now with my friends from college. Um, for me, they're a special band. I've never seen a band that's so complex and so simple at the same time. They're alive. They're in the sense that the music is alive. So many different musicians play this music and are attracted to it. Great musicians. Two of the best guitarists alive right now play the Dead all the time. John Mayer and Trey Anastasio. There's reasons for that, I think. So I listen to them a lot. It never gets old to me. And as far as my writing goes, um, I was writing a story and I was writing about an octopus on a coral reef. And her name was Binti, which is Swahili for courage. And she needed a boyfriend. So I had another octopus. And I don't know, it just made sense to me at the time that I'm going to have this octopus speak nothing but Grateful Dead lyrics. And there are so many lyrics, I can make him say anything, and he has this poetic, burnt out quality that I thought was kind of funny and fun. So I wrote this character named Molo, who's named after John Molo, who's the drummer in Bruce Hornsby's band, and he's played with the Dead.
Uh,
And on my website, there's a picture of John Molo actually holding the book, doing an octopus dance. Um, but I write this character, and I finish the book, and I just never actually asked the Dead if I could do it. And I thought, gee, maybe I should.
mhm.
Don't really want to get sued by the Dead. So I got online, I started playing around, and a reader, Klaus in Germany, turned me on to Alan Trist, who was the head of Ice Nine Publishing, the Grateful Dead publishing company. And so I wound up talking to Alan, and I said, Alan, I wrote this story. I got an octopus who speaks nothing but Grateful Dead lyrics in my book. You're cool with that, right? That's okay. And he said, "Oh, John, I don't know if we can do that." He said, "We're non-political here, and that's by design. And we don't, we're not going to. I'm not so sure, John. You're going to have to send me the book. I'm going to have to look at the." He was an attorney, and he said, "You're going to have to, well, send me the book, mark those passages, and I'll look at it." So I sent him the book, and he goes, "John, I just want you to know I can't be very encouraging about this." And I'm like, oh boy, like, what am I going to do? Have him speak Springsteen lyrics? That's not going to work. It's got to be the Dead. So about a month later, he calls me in my office, and he would call me professor. He's like, "Professor," and I was like, "Alan," and he says, "I read your book," and I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah," and the band read it. Bob, all of them, they read it. I got to tell you, John, we love your book. I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, we love it." I'm like, "So what does that mean, Alan?" And he said, "Well, what we're thinking is there's really no better place for our lyrics than with a psychedelic octopus and a psychedelic coral reef. Way to go. We love it." And I'm like, "So what does that mean, Alan?" And he said, "Well, what it means, John, is that you can use any and all of our lyrics in your books for free." And I
Wow.
said, "Wow." I said, "So," and I was just about to ask, and so if you think like the Dead are just like this goof, it's big business and they're very serious. And this guy says, I didn't even have to ask. He goes, "Don't worry, John, you'll get it in writing." So I have
Yeah.
Grateful Dead stationery, Ice Nine stationery, with the signed from them saying that I can use all their lyrics in my books for free. So I've done it a
That
couple times now.
that's
That
incredible.
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
last question regarding the Dead and Fish.
Sure.
I've been a Deadhead, since back in high school, and so and I never really got into Fish. So how would you like delineate like the Deadheads versus the Fish heads? How does that work?
So, I mean, I know a lot of Deadhead friends of mine who don't really like fish. I love fish. I think they're
Yeah.
great. Um, and for me, they are spawn of the dead. Like they are adjacent, like cousins or little brothers, that kind of thing. I love them. Um, and as a matter of fact, the first fish show I ever went to, one of our buddies, Steve Sadowski, took me to it. He's a major fish head. And for me, now there's a new band that I like in the big three there, and that's Goose. If you've ever heard Goose, oh,
Yeah.
so good. I love them.
Yeah. My son is a fish head and his
Ah,
wife, and they travel everywhere and anywhere
nice.
to to
Ah.
I actually went to one of their concerts with my son, and I threw my first glow stick and I knew that I had arrived.
It's official.
Oh, so do you have an agent? I mean, it's hard to get these books out there.
I've had agents, more than one. I've had success with them, and then I haven't. Agents are funny,
Hmm,
like
hmm,
they want to make money and they want to make it quickly and they like to make it easily.
right.
Um, so some of them are more attentive than others. Some of them tell you they can do things and then they can't. Um, and I've had success with them and not. I've also had success on my own. The publisher I have now, I mean, we're vested. They've done several books. This is a series, and they've basically said, you write it, we'll publish it.
So
Uh,
it's not the case that you're self-publishing, you've got
no.
someone.
Oh yeah,
So
totally.
when I, this is about you, not about me, but it falls in line here. I had the incredible honor of coaching Tom Wolfe's son, and
Ah,
Tom became a very dear friend. And
huh.
when Tommy was graduating, he said, "Coach, you're going to write a book." And I said, "Tom, come on. I mean, what are you talking?" He said, "No, no, you have a story to tell." And he said, "And the hardest thing to do is to get an agent.
Yeah,
So I'm going to get you an
good one.
agent." So, oh, yeah, great. So I'm on the tennis court one day and my phone rings and, I pick it up and guy says, Coach, my name is David Black and I'd like to be your agent. And being the moron that I am, I said, well, why would I have you, be
Yeah.
my agent? And he said, well, that's a fair question. I'm the agent for Mitch Albom, Tuesdays with Maury, and Dan Brown, the Da Vinci Code. And I said, well, I think you can be my agent.
Yeah, that's a start.
Yeah, that could work.
That's great.
So it seems a natural pathway for your four novels of the Echo series. Um, has there been any thoughts about screenplay, movie, and because it seems
Yeah.
like it would be fall right into one of those Disney animated,
And
pictures.
that's basically what essentially everybody says. This is Disney for the environment. It's
Hmm.
Disney with a soul, Disney with a conscience. It's like it's now. It's perfect. Um, we've had in the past some offers. The Warner family gave us an offer. There's an animation studio in Philadelphia that gave us an offer. My agent at the time felt that it wasn't these weren't good offers, that we would get better offers. And his advice to me was just write, keep writing, and someone will come in here and buy them all. Um,
Hmm.
so that's what I'm doing now. And honestly, it would be awesome. I think they'd be great movies or TV series, anything like that. But that's not why I'm doing it. I feel like I'm already ahead of the game. But if that does happen, that would be great. That would be wonderful.
No, I think
Yeah, it's so interesting.
it's quite entertaining, and yet it's very educational. I mean, you're on the
Yeah.
like the cutting edge of what's going on in the world. So I think it's applicable. And look,
Yeah.
I only wish you the best. It'll be great.
Appreciate it, and I know you do.
Well, it's interesting. It's not fair for me to tell you what your purpose is, but what I'm reading into this is you're all about messaging, and your
Yeah,
message is in a lane, and it's in a lane that's badly needed, needs to be heard, and it's done in this wonderfully quirky and fun way, which is awesome. You know, my book is being made into a movie. That
awesome.
wasn't my intention.
Mm,
Um, but that gets our messages out more, doesn't it?
yes, it does. It
Um,
definitely does.
I have a connection that I'll talk to you about offline that you might be interested in looking at.
That sounds great. Yeah, and congratulations to you.
Well,
That's
yeah,
exciting.
I'll believe it when the but the screenplay is done and now they're looking for the
Great.
actor and it'll be filmed at Trinity and it'll be
Nice.
super cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
So I think now that I have both of you here, coaching versus teaching and vice versa. So both of you, I want to know your opinions on what you've learned from the ball field that you can bring into the classroom, and vice versa. And I think there are a lot of common threads that I think are useful in, helping a student and helping an athlete. So John, it's up to you here.
Well, just sitting across from Paul, I am humbled,
No, no,
and
no, no.
I don't even know if I can add anything because his record is remarkable. Um, but I can I'll tell. I guess I feel like as a professor, I am in large measure a coach. I grew up with coaches, and they affected my life, and they affect how I work with young people. Um, I'll tell you a quick story if that's okay.
Of
I
course.
mean, okay. So a coach gave me this, and it changed my life. It made me understand something that I don't know if he meant to do it, but he did it. Um, I was a senior in high school, and we were at the awards dinner for our town. And the Dads Club would have this big awards dinner, and they'd give out all the MVP trophies and all these things, and da 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 da. And I was there, and they were going to announce the MVP for the basketball season. And our coach, the 2 previous years, walked up to the podium. He was 6'6". He was a big guy. He was a hard guy. And he walked up to the podium and he said, yeah, the basketball team this year, we don't have an MVP. No one rose to that level. Thank you very much. And he sat
Oh,
down.
whoa,
2 years
boy.
previously, he did that. Um, and this was my third year on varsity. Um, and I thought a pretty good year, you know. I did okay. I was getting recruited, but I made some all-star teams. I thought I did okay. And I was like, gee, I think we might have an MVP this year. And so he gets up to the podium and I'm wondering, and he says, the whole town is there. And he goes, well, we have an MVP this year. And I'm thinking, oh, this is my moment. Here we go. He's going to say something nice about me. He hasn't in 3 years, but he's going to now. And he says, let me tell you something about our MVP tonight. So I sit back, I take a deep breath, I'm smiling. And he goes, our MVP tonight, I've had bigger players. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. I'm like a 6'1" guard. Okay. And he goes, our MVP tonight, I got to tell you, I've had some faster players. I've had some guys who rebounded better. I've certainly had some guys who passed more. I've even had a couple guys with a better jump shot. And I'm like, he's killing me. Is there anything I do right here? He's just telling everybody how everyone else was better at everything that I do. Like this is a roast. This is not a, you know. So so then he goes, but let me tell you something about our MVP tonight. In 20 years of coaching, what I've never had is someone who plays harder. I never had someone who loved the game more. This guy is the other coach's nightmare because I will tell him I need 20 from you tonight and he gets me 25. I will tell him that guy can't score 10 tonight and he scores 5. This guy plays all night long and he does it in practice and he does it every day. And I never had a player who did this. And then he gave me this, you know, the award.
Wow, that's
Right.
awesome.
So now I leave and I walk out into the parking lot and I'm just thinking for a minute, you know, like what just happened, you know? And what I realized was he told me the key to life.
Hmm.
Play harder than everybody else.
Hmm.
Love the game more than everybody else. No matter what you're doing. Be the best husband, be the best father, be the best professor. Just one speed. Give it all you got all the time. And even if you're not the most talented guy, like with writing, in college, I literally was the least well-prepared student, but I didn't leave that way. And that's what this is all about, I think. It's not how you show up, it's how you leave. And if you just work hard, you will compete with the most talented people. You just outwork them. And
Yeah,
that's what
that's
taught me.
spectacular. That's spectacular. So when I speak to teams and companies and all of that, what I tell them is you have to show up. And because we're human beings, we're flawed. And you might wake up on a day and be only 60% of your best self. You don't get a special accommodation. You show up and you take your lumps and you make no excuses and you shake that person's hand and you walk away thinking, I'll see you soon. And
Yes.
you got to show up. You know, it's interesting. My wife's a professor and I've been doing this forever, as have you. And a lot of professors will say, I'm jealous of your relationship with your players.
Mm.
And the answer to that is, I have the gift of time. You know, you have office hours and you've got your class. I could have 48 hours in a weekend road trip with my team, you
Mm.
know, and and the ability to lead requires trust. And
Mm.
trust is a meal served with a teaspoon. It takes time. And so we as coaches have the gift of time.
Yeah.
That's the diff. So one of the professors said, let's do role reversal. Tomorrow I'm going to take over your team and you're going to take over my history class. What's the first thing you're going to do? And I said, I'm going to take them miniature golfing. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm going to take them out of this environment so that we can learn who each other is, and then
Yeah.
we can bring it together and do something with it.
Yep. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
both.
So you were
Sorry,
the
Paul.
MVP of your high school. That's pretty awesome.
That's funny. Yeah. Back in the day.
Hmm.
So, looking in through the crystal ball, where do you see yourself in, 5 to 10 years from now? Um, you, it sounds like you're just, hitting your stride. I mean, even though you've been doing this for a really long time.
I mean, honestly, I'm I believe I'm going to retire soon. I've been here 38 years, and I'm not necessarily a young man. I'm a healthy man, and I want to be able to enjoy that. Um, the day I leave here, I will start writing my next book.
Hmm.
Um, I'm ready to go. I have it, it's in it. The research is done. The story's in my head. I just have to get on a keyboard and bang it out. And it's difficult to do when all this is going on here.
Hmm.
But when I leave, that'll be the first thing I do. I'm very excited to write it too. Um, I'm a curious person, and so I think I'll always be looking at something, doing something. I have a hobby. It's kind of wacky, but it's my hobby, one of several. But um, I collect fossils, and
I love it.
yeah, so I in central New Jersey we have the Cretaceous Atlantic coastal plain, and it's one of the best examples of it in the world. I've got thousands of fossils that I've collected, probably 100 pieces in museums, and so I can take a walk in the woods and hike and not see another human being for a couple hours and go down a stream 30, 40 miles from shore and find examples of turtles, mosasaurs, plesiosaurs,
You have found
brachiopods.
mosasaurs.
Yes.
Oh
I,
my God, that's
yeah.
crazy. I was thinking you were going to say trilobites or,
Yeah,
these.
yeah. Ammonites and, all kinds of like crocodiles, all kinds. Um, and at the end of the day, I've taken a walk, a good hike, actually. It's a good workout. And I just might come out of the woods with something in my hand. This sounds crazy, but takes our body of knowledge and moves it forward just a click.
I love it.
Like I found there's a fish called Pachyrhizotis, and it existed during the Cretaceous. That's a fact. They found many of them, but they never ever found one in the Atlantic coastal plain, and no one could figure out why that fish wasn't here. It's never been found. I took a walk in the woods, and I came out with a jaw about the size of your index finger with 5 teeth in it, and that was a Pachyrhizotis jaw. So now we know that it did exist in the Atlantic coastal plain of the Cretaceous. And the reason we know it is because I took a walk and picked it up when I saw it.
Wow.
I think that's kind of cool.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Wow, that's nuts. Well, I was going to give you a cautionary tale. 2 years ago, I retired. And
Oh,
and I'm still working. And the reason I'm still working is if you don't have hobbies, you've got to keep working, man. This is my hobby, but you've got that. That's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
So, we have a lot of younger kids, who listen to the podcast. What
Yeah.
advice, either, just about to start college or just finishing up and they want to enter a career in journalism? How do you go about that? I obviously blogs or, something that,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do. But what would your advice be? Because it's not an easy industry and
I,
it takes a long time for the, to establish yourself.
absolutely. So, and let's start with that, Bruce, because you're totally right. I think the I don't think my job is to sell journalism to students. That makes me very uncomfortable. I want them to understand journalism. And part of that is explaining, like you just said, that this is not an easy road. This is not an easy road, especially the landscape today. Now, that said, my attitude was always this: why not me? Like, someone's going to do this. Why not me? And I always felt like, and again, that comes from basketball. When there was 3 seconds left, give me the
Give
ball.
me the ball.
Give
Give
it to
me
me.
the ball.
Yep,
The Larry Bird School of
just give
Basketball.
it to me. And not even, I'll just make something good happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm going to score the basket, but I might, but I will make something good happen. Give me that ball. But the very next question is, why would we give you the ball? Why do you deserve the ball? And you better have the answer. And that's the same thing here. Like, you know, why do you get to be the person who writes at that newspaper? Why do you get to be the person who reviews that movie? And you better have the answer. You better be able to say, because I see things other people don't see.
Hmm.
Because I can express it with such style that it's informative and entertaining, and you will pay money to read it. And then you will want to read more. And you have to be able to say that. And you can't just say it, you have to be able to do it. And the best way to do these things is to actually do them. So for those folks who are starting out at a university, they should study it and they should do it. They should walk right over to the student newspaper or some form of that and start doing it. Start making mistakes now. The sooner you make them, the sooner you'll stop making them. And no one's going to fire you from the university. So do it now. That would be my, don't hesitate, start and have a plan. I want to accomplish this by the end of my freshman year. I'd like to accomplish this by the end of my sophomore year. I'd like to be here by the end of my junior year. And if you don't know how to make a plan, you find somebody like me who is a journalist and you sit down with them and they'll help you figure it out. Um, and then it can be,
In your industry, are there internships? I mean,
oh, yes. It's,
okay.
we actually require an internship.
Okay.
That you can't go through this program without doing an internship. You also can't go through it without writing for the school newspaper.
Oh, cool.
We are totally committed to the idea of studying it is wonderful and it's not enough. You must do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome.
I think that's a very sound advice. And
Yeah.
so as
Yeah.
we wrap this up, John, this has been just a treat for me, and I knew you and Paul would hit it off,
Oh,
very well.
yeah,
Um, but thank you so much for making time for us, and
happy to.
you'll keep us posted on what's happening. It's very exciting.
I tell you
Yeah.
honestly, I'm excited by what you guys are doing. I think this is really cool, like really cool. And you talk to people and pull things out of them that are useful and interesting. And I think your vision is a really good one. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you. I'm sort of in awe of not your accomplishments or it's just you live it. It's oozing out of you. And it's very Tuesdays with Maury and it's just or Dead Poets Society. This is you, man, and it's authentic. And we've been blessed to be able to have some time with you tonight.
Well, likewise. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so we'll keep you posted, and thanks again. And this has been really
Yeah,
better than I expected. I knew it was going to be great, but this was better than I expected, and
That's
so
great.
much fun.